There are very few ways to start an event like this. West Side Story, I measure my life as starting when I was around 10 years old. Somewhere around being 10 and 12 is when I became me, I think. And when I was 11, I had the privilege of seeing West Side Story. And I've told this before, I know exactly where I sat in the Winter Garden Theater. I know just exactly in the orchestra seat, slightly audience left with my mom. And I can replicate it in my mind as if it were yesterday, even though it was 50 years ago. And to come to this moment 50 years later, I know Julie Andrews once said to me once, it's a weird segue here, but when we recorded The King and I in 1991 or 92, and I had, in fact, around that time, produced The King and I in my backyard when I was 10, having seen the movie. Of course I was the king, of course, and Judy Lieberman, my girlfriend, was Anna, and in fact, when I did a little thing with Marnie Nixon at the Bowl, I'd announced that she had been the voice of Deborah Carr in the movie of The King and I, and the voice of Natalie Wood in West Side Story, and the voice of Audrey Hepburn in My Fair Lady. I left out that she was the voice of Judy Lieberman in my backyard, but but it was actually 50 years after seeing West Side Story, well, 48.5 years, that I ran into Gerald Friedman at backstage at Sweeney Todd, which I'd gone to see, and was in Patti LuPone's dressing room to say congratulations to her, and I heard the voice of Gerald say, "John Mauceri," and it's a voice I hadn't heard in 30 years, and Jerry came over to my house a few days later and told me about the North Carolina School of the Arts and about how in a year he was going to be directing an all-school production of West Side Story, and that's when I uttered the line, "Gosh, I'd do anything to conduct that with you, Jerry." And so here I am now as Chancellor, and it means so much to me to see these wonderful people, many of whom have been my friends for years, some of whom I saw on the stage when I was 11 years old, sitting in front of me and having made the trip from Los Angeles and New York to Winston-Salem. It is a very, very moving process for me to just see you all here and to talk about this great work. And to finally celebrate a kind of 50th anniversary of my seeing it, because that's what we do at a school. We try and inspire young people, and then extraordinarily enough, these kids who you will see tonight, some of whom are sitting among us, who are inhabiting the roles that you people invented, you people actually gave the first life to. And then to know that in June, this company will go to Ravinia, and the day before we perform it there, and it's already sold out, the performance, is that there's a day when our kids will mentor high school kids who are, in fact, performing West Side Story, and so the story goes on. In fact, for the 100th anniversary of West Side Story, the kids you will see tonight will be sitting at a symposium in the year 2057, telling the story of when Gerald Friedman taught them how to act the roles that they are now mentoring others with. So it continues. This is the great thing about art, because we can skip a whole century in a heartbeat. Now today we're going to hand this back over to Margaret, and it's a big day for those of us who are here, who are performing at the end of it, and hopefully we'll all carry on with aplomb. And here's Margaret, who will now tell you what's the next thing, because the first thing that happens is a change in schedule. Margaret.